Hello and welcome back to another episode of Stirring It Up with Tia Monique, Kitchen Table Talk. And on today's political news segment, we have Nina and Hasan sitting at the table to discuss her run for Congress. Let's listen and talk about it on the other side.
Former Democratic Ohio State Senator and a working-class Cleveland native, Turner shifted her support from Hillary Clinton to Bernie Sanders in 2016 and was a national co-chair of the 2020 Sanders campaign. Earlier this month, the former state senator announced she'll run in a special Ohio election to replace Congresswoman Marcia Fudge in the House after Fudge joins the Biden cabinet. And Turner's candidacy already has support from high-profile progressives like Ro Khanna, Keith Ellison, rapper Killer Mike, and actor Danny Glover, even though a date hasn't yet been set for the election. Former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner joins me now. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You are running for Congress. Let me start with this. Why are you running for Congress, and how would you have voted on the COVID relief bill that just passed if you'd been in Congress this week?
Well, I'm running for Congress because there isn't in that Congress more people who have not forgotten where they've come from. And certainly me, being a daughter of Cleveland and of the 11th Congressional District, I certainly get the struggle from lived experience. I have been among the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class throughout my life. And I want to bring all of that to bear in service to Congress. When we have the types of crises that we have right now that have been exacerbated by the COVID virus, we need people who will leave no doubt on whose side they are standing. When it comes to the stimulus package, both the Republicans who have been the Republicans who have been the most recalcitrant when it comes to bringing support to the people, and the Democratic Party, we got a lot to think about here. Why should it have taken from March? Nothing since March, and now evictions. People have lost their health care because it has been tied to their jobs. I was just reading an article the other day where it says that even more military families are seeking assistance in terms of having more food. So people are suffering, and they really do need a Congress committed, both Democrats and Republicans, to standing up for the least among us in this country.
Yeah. So we just spoke to former Congressman Joe Crowell. He and many other Democrats make the point that this COVID relief bill clearly doesn't go far enough, but it's the best they could get given Mitch McConnell's intransigence, and that there are some good things in there, money for COVID testing, for schools, for the unemployed, that Democrats wanted and got. Those are wins, you would agree.
It has to be done. Without saying, I mean, why is it that we are the only industrialized nation that has not done enough for our people? We are a hegemon nation, and that really is what I want your viewers to know. Anybody that is listening to what we have to say tonight, is that it would be one thing if we were a poor nation, but we are not. We are a hegemon nation, and we have the absolute resources to not only take care of our people, but to also help small businesses strive. This is a matter of political will, and it must be answered. So I do agree with former Representative Crowley that this cannot be the first. And when 2021 comes around, it cannot be such a wide gap between March and December. Meanwhile, people can't pay their bills or even put food on their table. It is immoral what is happening to people in this country right now.
100% agree with that sentiment. You campaign non-stop for Bernie Sanders, and poll after poll suggests Sanders' positions are hugely popular with Democrats. Medicare for all, student debt forgiveness, free college. And yet he lost in 2016 and lost again in 2020 to the most moderate candidate, quote unquote, both times. How do you explain that? Was it his failure to get through to black voters maybe in places like South Carolina, or something else?
No, I mean, it was a confluence of things. There's not just any one thing. I will tell you, though, what we did win. We won the argument. As you just laid out, most Americans, they might not necessarily call themselves progressive, but when you have the conversation with them about what it would mean to have universal health care, to eradicate the commodification of health care, deductibles, premiums, co-pays, which are private taxes, when you talk to them about canceling student debt or a Green New Deal or infrastructure reform, those things in conversation resonate with them. And I would submit to you that what we are talking about is not radical, it's right on time, and that the majority of Americans across the political spectrum agree with those ideas. But it's having the opportunity to have those deep-seated conversations. The progressive movement of the 21st century is still very young, and we have many more miles to go, but we are winning the argument. Just even in this last election cycle, progressives like Congresswoman-elect Cori Bush actually won. It was really the moderate Democrats that lost this time around. And so we have to continue to push and push hard and have the conversations with the American people and help the sleeping giants to awaken to the fact that they deserve better than what they're getting right now.
You've already gotten some high-profile progressive endorsements heading into a crowded primary. But you have your critics in the party too, as you know. Some of them even accuse you of not being a Democrat, of voting for Green Party candidate Jill Stein over Hillary Clinton in 2016. Is that true?
First of all, votes are private. We vote privately in this country, so they don't know what I did. But let's talk about this. Let's have the receipts. I was a Cleveland City Councilwoman. Cleveland City Council, ran as a Democrat. Senator in the great state of Ohio, Democrat, and also elected by my peers to be minority whip. I was the Democratic nominee for Secretary of State in 2014, running against one of the worst secretaries of state in the country. I was a delegate for President Obama twice. I was the chair of party engagement for the Ohio Democratic Party. So for anyone to say that I'm a Democrat, not a Democrat, that's a flat out lie. Now, if they're looking for somebody who's just going to go along to get along, I'm not their person. I can work with anybody who's willing to work on behalf of the people, but working with is different than acquiescing to.
So it's clear from what you just said that you have a very long, proven track record in the Democratic Party. But just to clear this up, for the critics who come after you, did you vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016?
Voting is private. So I'm not even about to give them the satisfaction one way or the other. They can accuse that all they want, but they don't know.
But you don't want to tell us?
Voting is private. And one thing that Jill Stein, let me make this point. When Dr. Jill Stein approached me to be her vice presidential candidate, what I said to her, and it is on the record, I said, I believe that the Democratic Party is worth fighting for. And I've been in that party fighting ever since, period.
Yes, you did. So let's talk about that fight. In recent days, some on the left, especially the very online left, have blasted Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for being some sort of phony progressive, all because she won't demand a floor vote on Medicare for All, which wouldn't even get through the House, let alone the Senate. AOC says she's busy building the movement that's necessary to get to a single-payer system. Do you worry about these kind of leftist purity tests? Do you worry once you go from being an activist to being a member of Congress who has to make compromises, you might face the same pretty cynical attacks online that AOC is now facing?
There has to be inside pressure and outside pressure. So the Congresswoman is doing what she feels is necessary to build from the inside, and we need activist types like on the outside. Sometimes we are in concert with one another, and sometimes not so much, but those two forces work hand in hand. So I applaud her for the work that she is doing. The people on the outside who feel like more should be done, they have a right to lift their voices too. It is both of those things that will get us the changes that we need. Sometimes we please people, sometimes we won't. This won't be the first time that either I or the current Congresswoman may disappoint some people, but what they cannot question is the integrity and the intent of the work that her and so many other progressives in that Congress are doing on behalf of the people. But I firmly believe we need inside and outside pressure.
Yes. No, it's a fair point about inside and outside. The problem is some people are questioning her integrity, which is bizarre to see people accusing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of having sold out at this point. But let me ask you this. I know you have to run. One last question.
It is.
This past summer, even after Bernie Sanders had dropped out of the race, you compared voting for Biden over Trump to eating half a bowl of excrement, shall we say, instead of the whole thing. A rather provocative and colorful metaphor, I think it's fair to say. Do you still feel that way? And how do you think that will play with Democratic primary voters in Ohio's 11th district, where you're standing next year?
Well, I was spurred in that moment by my passion for the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class. and the pushing of progressive policies that will lift people who are in pain. As I said earlier, I know what it's like to miss a meal. I know what it's like to have a mother be a custodial parent and not know how she's going to feed 7 children, let alone buy them Christmas gifts. I know what it's like to have that kind of pain and to live that, to have a mother die at the young age of 42 years old with her dreams deferred. So it was in that moment that I'm thinking about the burden that people are facing with COVID, that my passion, it was my passion for working people. I will say this again, that I can and will work. Of course, I will work with anybody, capitalize, underline, bold, anybody that is willing to stand up for the people, the workaday people of this nation, period. That goes without saying. And my record will reflect, my record, not just my words, my deeds reflect that in the work that I have done, being a daughter city of Cleveland and a daughter of the 11th congressional district, and I will put my record head to head with anybody. I am a public servant through and through, and I believe in being a champion for the people.
Well, we appreciate you coming on to tell us why you're running. Thank you for your time. We'll have to leave it there. Former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, we appreciate you coming on the show.
That wraps it up for another edition of Stirring It Up with Chair Monique, Kitchen Table Talk. And we got to listen to Nina. How do you feel about Nina becoming a part of Congress? Please let us know below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to become a friend. Until next time, and there will be a next time. Bye.